Hi, this is Corey, and today is day 20 of my 100-day challenge of my 6x6 and 6. And this is actually just kind of a bee photo. I'm going to show you how to make the inserts that I use in the ephemera holder. So day 20 was actually the ephemera holder, and I showed you how to put these together. And I find that these work a whole lot better when I put inserts in them. So this video is just showing you how I make the inserts that go inside of these. And the way it works is there's a couple different kinds, but the idea is you put the ephemera in here and it goes in your holder, and then you can just take the envelope out when you want to use whatever you've got in there. Again, these are made using vintage paper, but you can use any paper line with it, 6x6 paper line. And the reason I'm not calling this a 6x6 and 6 is because I use 8.5 by 11 vellum or parchment paper for these, and so it felt like I was cheating. But anyway, they're really simple to make, and I'm going to show you how. I've got a couple here that are sewn simply because I usually sew them, but the one I'm going to show you is a glue method, so you don't have to have a sewing machine in order to do that. You can put vellum or a Velcro closure here if you want, but you certainly don't have to. There's enough of a lip here that you don't have to close it with Velcro if you don't want. All right, so what you need to do this is a paper trimmer, a scoreboard, and this is a larger scoreboard because I'm going to use the 8.5 by 11 paper. You're going to need some wet glue, a pair of scissors, maybe we need scissors, a corner rounder, and you can get by without the corner rounder, but I find that the ends stay much smoother and they don't get as jaggedy if you use a corner rounder on them. And you are going to need a piece of vellum or parchment paper. Tracing paper is too thin, and vellum comes in a bunch of different weights. Heavier weight vellum works better simply because it's sturdier. Thin vellum tears really easily. So for that reason alone, I don't use the thinner vellum, I use the thicker. And this one's parchment paper, and it's kind of a heavy weight. It's not as translucent as the vellum was, but it works just as well. And the idea is, again, to make the container to go inside, and you can still see through enough to see what's in it. And then for the little notch to get into it without killing your fingers, I use a circle punch. So the first thing you'll do is take your 8.5 by 11 paper. British measurements are a little bit different. That's the A4 size, and they're not exactly the same, so you'll have to adjust it a little bit. But basically what you do is you cut this in half. Hamburger. Hot dog would be cutting it in half this way. You want to cut it in half this way, which is essentially the 8.5 by 11s. I'm sorry, the 11-inch side. So you're cutting it down to about 5 1/4 or half. Okay. And so I'm going to do that. So sorry, that was really loud. One sheet of parchment paper or vellum will make you two envelopes. Okay, so this obviously isn't 8.5 by 11. I should have cut it down to 5 1/2, and I didn't. Oh well, it'll still work. That's the beauty of this. I'll still be able to fit it inside that pocket there. So if you make a mistake because you're talking like me, no worries. It'll still work. All right. So I've got my piece of paper, and now I'm going to score at a couple different places. I am first going to score it at 3 inches and 6 1/4 inches, which is the long way. Sorry, when I'm scoring it the long way. And I didn't cut this, so I've got to cut it down just a tiny bit because I made the other one just a bit too small. I was supposed to cut it at 5 1/2, and I didn't. I wasn't paying attention, and I cut it at 5 1/4. So, okay, 5 1/2. So I'm going to want to score this down this way, the long way, so the 8.5 by 11 way. Sorry, it's light on light. So my long piece, 8.5 by 11, is going to go down, and I'm scoring it at 3 inches and at 6 1/4 inches, which is 7.6 centimeters and roughly 15.9 to 16 centimeters. So 3 inches and 6 1/4 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to turn it. So now I'm scoring down the length, and I'm going to score it at about 3/8 inch, which is about 0.5 centimeters. and I'm going to score it at 5 1/8, which is about 13 centimeters. So I've got score lines this way and score lines this way, just like I did with the envelopes, if you saw the envelope videos. All right, and now this is the top piece. This is the centerpiece, or the back, if you will, and this is the front or bottom piece. I want to put my notch right here and leave my flaps right here. So I am going to notch the narrower piece is the top. That's going to be my top fold, so it's going to go down just like this. So I'm going to put a notch in roughly the center. Now, if I were doing 2 pockets, if I were to glue here and sew here, I wanted 2 littler pockets, then I'd make 2 smaller notches. But for the sake of this one, I'm just going to take a notch roughly in the middle. And I am going to use, oh, I do need scissors. I'm going to take the scissors and cut right on the score line up till this second fold. So from the top, from this piece here, I'm going to cut right in and down. I want to go just inside the edge of that fold where I creased it. And I'm going to cut it to that second score line. Here's my first score line, here's my second score line. I'm going to cut it just to that second score line, and I'm going to toss that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. This is my inside of my envelope, so I want to keep this piece intact. This is where I need the flap. So again, cutting just inside the score line to the second vertical, horizontal score line. Okay, just like that. And now I'm going to take those angles up on the corners just so that they fold in nicely and don't get in the way. I'm going to do that on both. And so before I fold anything, this is what it looks like. I've got a notch and I've got my flaps, and then I've got my back and my top. And this is where I come in and round the corners. You can do it later, but because I've got it right here and it's not folded, I'm going to round those corners of the smallest piece or the shortest piece. Then all I do is come in and glue. I'm going to use the creases that I made, the score lines that I made to fold it. Sorry, I've got stuff everywhere. I'm going to come in and score it. No, I'm going to fold it where I scored it. And then I'm going to put glue on just these 2 flaps. Now, if I were sewing this, I would do it essentially the same way, but rather than cutting and scoring, I would just fold and sew. That's it. I wouldn't sew this piece. I would fold this up and sew this side and this side. But because I'm not sewing it, I'm gluing it. I'm just folding these in and adding glue to those sections. Okay, and then fold it back down on itself. And I can clamp it or crease it, clamp it or just hold it in place. The parchment grabs pretty quickly and holds it pretty tight. And that is it. There is my insert. I'm going to crease this down. And again, I don't really need Velcro right here because it's folded over. And when I'm putting it in my pocket or in my ephemera holder, I'm going to put it down like this. Now you can see here, this comes up above the lip of my pocket just a little bit. And there we go. I did that on purpose, 1, because then I don't destroy my cuticles when I get it. And 2, remember how we made this kind of a fold over, a rolling top? I have plenty of room. If I need to make this a little bit taller because of the size of ephemera I'm putting in there, I absolutely can. I just fold less of this. Let's say I wanted it taller. Rather than folding at that score line, I'm just going to fold it up a little bit higher. So if I've got a piece that's just a little bit larger that I want to store in here, I certainly can. And that's one of the benefits of that rolling top. And that's all there is to it. That is how you make your inserts for your ephemera holder. Thanks for watching and have a great day.